hello. Welcome everybody to this very interesting panel. Like you just heard, it's called Berlin Living in the Founder's Paradise. So today we want to kind of answer the question, is this city really a paradise for founders? Has it changed in any way, and has it gotten better or worse? So we have three really interesting founders here today on stage, which can probably answer all those questions. And afterwards, you will have time to also ask your own questions. So Maru, maybe we start with you. And can you maybe tell us what are the advantages for your company or for yourself as a founder in Berlin?
Yes, I started my first company in Berlin 11 years ago. That was the time in 2006 when Rocket Internet actually also started. And I think it's an amazing time right now to start a company here because we have this grown-up first movers infrastructure here in Berlin. So it's you have proven startups who have can deliver a great network. Like, for example, we just talked about doing something together with Eyeem and with Makers, with Amber. So you have all a great network to work together already. You have VC money, you have grown-up angel investors, and you have great talent here too.
But is it so easy to get to know the other founders and the investors? Because, I mean, you're in this network of founders already, but if you're new in the scene, is it, where do you meet all those guys, or do you know each other privately from university? How do you get to know all the other founders?
I think when you found something, the first rule is get yourself out. Because you found something you want to make sales, you have to sell and promote yourself too. So you have to find your own way. For example, people are here at the HEUREKA. Go out, you know where the conferences are. This is a founders conference. So you are here at the right place to make your first networking contacts. But really, it's up to you to create your network, actually.
Absolutely.
Again, would you agree with that? I mean, you have been in the scene for quite a long time already. How is it with your network? How did you build this up?
I disagree. But, thanks for the invitation first. And we started back in the days 6-7 years ago, and it was completely different, right? And there were no, was there HEUREKA? Shit, I don't know. But there were no startup conferences and stuff like that. And you had this St. Oberholz. I don't know, pretty sure you're familiar with that. And at the end, you have to find the right people, the co-founders, who are also passionate about the product or the design or the idea. I think you have to find the idea, and then the people will join you. I think it's not important if you're in Berlin or in Düsseldorf or in Cologne or Frankfurt, but yeah.
But do you see clear advantages if you're in Berlin compared to maybe Düsseldorf?
Yeah, definitely. I think here the most coolest people, and it's becoming more and more international. I think 10 years ago in Berlin, no one was literally speaking English. It's crazy. And now you don't hear German, right? It's completely shifting. And this is also super important to attract the top designers, top engineers, and of course the cheap living costs, right? And this is changing now, but I think this is the
still under average in to many other German cities, right?
What did you say?
The living costs are still under average to many other German cities, so that's a big advantage. On the one hand side, when you really start from the scratch, not having right now the VCs or the seed fundings on board, maybe some family investments, but to make the first steps, here you pay for really high educated people, which come from abroad, from international countries, come here because they want to experience something new. They also want to enjoy this lifestyle of the city, and therefore they are, I believe they are also willing to compensate a little bit from their salary expectations to really have this startup flow and this nice atmosphere in this city. It's a startup city here.
Definitely, they want to go to Bergheim.
It's good that you mentioned this point, because there are many people that say it's really hard now to get good people here because, many international people are coming, but they want to earn more money since the rents have gone up and stuff. Do you think it has gotten that harder, or is it stays the same because so many people are still coming here?
Well, I think there are 2 points. On the one hand side, it gets harder because more and more people found. I think it's what we discover right now is that it becomes more also more acknowledged in the society to found, to do something on your own, also to fail. Yeah. When I remember I was in university 10 years ago, all the professors told me go to big banks, go to consultancies, go to something, but never really to found. And I think there is a shift. So on the one hand side, we see more and more companies starting up, yeah, which is a very good sign. It's very positive. And of course, it makes it more difficult to attract people. The ideas of founders are great. They come up with very innovative topics, yeah. And the people that are the tech people, the designers, as you said, the good marketing people, they are very interested then in, okay, what's right now the best company, the best project I can work for. So you need to pitch, of course, a bit harder against others. But I think that's a very good climate, as it shows entrepreneurship, goes on the right track.
But it's also for the startups who are really making a really true, successful business case. They have to become professional, and at that level they are competing with all others. And I think when you are creating a company or a CEO of old economy, new company, what is super important now is that besides salary, that you should really think when you start your company and you hire the first people, that you give them a purpose. So each of them should have a purpose why they should work with you, and create a very great culture from the beginning on. So that's what a lot of founders, when they start, they just try to get people fast, and just it's a buddy thing, but you see that the first, everybody knows it from us, when you make the first more professional move, there is some changes coming up, and that's the level when you're competing with like any other company too.
So what do you tell your employees? Why do they work for you? Or why should they work for you if they apply?
I have a strong vision what I want to do. So we are shifting our company now also that we said we create products which are products produced locally. So we really have this purpose to support local craftsmanship and give them the opportunity to ship, to produce and manufacture, that we can give them revenues. And we also involve social impact companies. Also from other companies, and that's our purpose, and that's why people really like to support it. And share your vision with them and give them a strong part in your vision. Yes.
Again, Eyeem has a big Berlin office, but also you do have a small office in New York. So
exactly.
You can compare those two cities. What would you say compared with New York is different in Berlin, and what are the big advantages and maybe also disadvantages for founders?
So in Berlin we are 70 people, and in New York we are 10 people, and it's mostly marketing and sales, because New York, I think there's way more money and the budgets are bigger, and I think that makes sense, and also our investors are there, and Berlin is more the playground, right? I think it's gathering of talents, but for us, we are a photo company. I think the people, they want to work for a cool photo company, because we have also not only marketing design, we have also, if there's some computer science, please apply. But I think because we have a huge R&D section, and also the tech, it's not only mobile, it's also desktop. And I think this is the whole range, and not only selling pizzas or stuff like that, right? And I think that makes the difference. And of course, New York, way more expensive. We also running a festival, and it's crazy. You pay for a liquor license, 20 grand, and in Berlin you put your own stuff, and it's okay. But in New York, you need a professional bartender, barkeeper, whatever, and it's more professional and bigger. But on the other hand, I think it's so many rules, and it's tough to make it in New York, and also the office and stuff like that. We are super lucky to pay $2,000 for 100 square meters and stuff like that, but that's only because you have connections, you know the people, and also in Berlin, right? It's raising up to 30 euros and stuff like that, and you need the people, you need the connections, you need the friends to get cheaper studios and offices.
You just mentioned that you're looking for developers. Has it gotten harder to look for them? Because, like Stephan mentioned, there are more and more companies, tech companies based here in Berlin. Or has it gotten easier because so many are coming to Berlin, maybe from foreign countries or even from other German cities?
it depends on your brand, right? I'm pretty sure we don't have any challenges or problems to hire people, but I think it's important also to keep them, the culture, stuff like that. That's super important. But we got a lot of applies because we have a brand, and I think it's decent, it's nice to work for a cool lifestyle photo company. But of course, there's a fight, or there's a war of talents, definitely. But I don't want to play the, okay, you get this, and you get the sushi, and you get the Peroni beer, and we don't like that. I think it's important that the coworker comes to the company because he believes into the vision or into the passion. I think this is super important.
Stephan, so you're doing a fintech company, and how do you, what do you tell developers if you want them to join your companies, and how, if they signed a contract, how do you keep them?
Yeah, good question. The company is debt collection, and debt collection itself isn't sexy at all. Yeah, if you consider incasso, that's a German translation for it. You wouldn't consider it as any kind of interesting. But putting it in the digital way, and we are working a lot with data science, and we are building an artificial intelligence around it. So that is a very, very new factor that brings data science, Python developers into the game, which are very interested in this, creating something that is the newest tech shit, and that attracts quite a lot. This morning, a new Python developer just signed his contract, who was in our interview last week. He did a doctor in a PhD in physics, and was a lot of interested in this Python development. He did it during his PhD, and he said, wow, that's exactly what I want to build. Also always having this ambition of creation. I think that is something, you shared it with your vision and with the first people coming on board. I believe it's something important that the people themselves, that they want to create something. Yeah? Although they are not the CEOs or the COOs or whatever, and the founders, but they all believe in something bigger and want to create something. I think that's and there you can also distinguish between, is it someone who wants to work with me, just to show off, or maybe for not getting too close, but just for a good brand? Or is it something where you see that he really wants to participate in a creation? And I think that's there's a big difference in the mindset of the people. When maybe one example on that end, when for my last company, we internationalized as well, and we opened an office in San Francisco. San Francisco is, I believe, next to New York, one of the most expensive cities in the US. And of course, we still had kind of limited budgets. And I always drew a line, an angle where I said, if you have the possibility of full creation or buckets full of money, and I draw a line in between, where would you position yourself? And then I saw in interviews where people would position themselves. And of course, the ones that are higher in the creation part and would be willing to reduce their salary, which is easy 140K a year in San Francisco, incredibly high, but are willing to reduce that while they have more freedom to create something. And these are the right people, I believe.
And do you find those people often in Berlin?
Yeah, you find them in Berlin. I believe you find them in Berlin a lot. So international people coming here wants to build something. As I said, this makes them try it out.
Maru, do you also meet a lot of people that are willing to get less money for what they do? So instead they work for a startup and they can create something. Is that the same with your employees, that they say, okay, just give me less money. I mean, I can create something with your company. I can share your vision.
No, of course, it's great to let everybody participate in the creation, but I think next to the salary, there is one point I think these people also in your company get, is that they participate also in form of shares, and that's what you give them in addition. I think that's with your company. I think like with every startup, you start and think, okay, you do some entrepreneur stock ownership program from the beginning on when you started. So that's what you give them when.
But you can also only do that in the beginning, right? I mean, Eyeem probably doesn't give out any more shares, do you?
Depends on the person, right? Now we have an ESOP, and it
depends on the phase, really. So.
And Stephan, how about your company? I mean, you're kind of included into FinLeap, so in HitFox. Can you give out shares, or is that not an option in yours?
We have also a share pool. It's an ESOP pool, same like that. And we also give it out, but I still want to make it dependent on the person itself. I don't give shares out to everyone. It depends a little bit on the level. It depends a little bit, also maybe not at the very first instance, because I want to see how they're working, how they're fitting in the team, and then there's this probation period, not like legally contracted probation period, but a probation period where you see how you fit to each other, and if the mindset is the right thing. And then I can still, offer this share possibility. I think the share possibility is something great that we can offer, as, I vested already with one company, and I have these shares right now in stock, and I wait for the exit without really influencing that much anymore on it, and I see them growing, which is a very nice feeling, right?
You use the shares for less salary, that's the point, right? So you give them shares, and then the people are committed and work for less money sometimes. But that's the same with the founders, right? We also work for less and have more shares and stuff like that. I think that's the commitment. I think that's the passion you have to share with your coworkers or with your co-founders.
I think what is super important is that you really take time to hire great people. So as I said in the beginning, when you start your first company, you really want to get a lot of people, or like the right people, and that's what we did with my first company too. So I really needed people, but I think it's super important that you take time and invest your own time in finding the people you really want to work like on this vision. And better way do these things all yourself, but invest in that time. And then you will have the right program, right salary, right ESOP thing.
Absolutely.
So.
And again, you also mentioned that most of your investors are based in the US, maybe even New York. How easy is it right now to find or to get money in Berlin? Because since there are so many startups, as you all mentioned.
Yeah, as a Berlin I think it's everywhere. It's in London or Shanghai, whatever. It's always difficult if you don't have a proper product, right? I think if you have a nice product, you can get money in the States, you can get money in Leipzig or in Düsseldorf. I think that doesn't matter where you are, but it's more the team and the product. I think that's super important. And then definitely you can raise in San Francisco as well and everywhere.
Agree, but the German investors are more reluctant. It takes more time. They want to be more precise. They want to have longer due diligence phases.
Yeah, definitely.
Harder negotiation on term sheets than in the US. And then you are talking in Germany, when you want to raise, you're talking a couple of million, and in the US you maybe are talking...
It's a different amount, definitely.
Exactly.
So for them it's pocket money. 10 million is pocket money for the Americans, right?
But to be concrete, so if you need money in San Francisco, how much time do you need? And how much time do you need in Berlin? Does it take a year maybe, or only 5 months? And in San Francisco, maybe just 2 weeks until the money is on your bank account?
Well, I believe, to give some ranges, I think when you raise money within 6 months in Germany, then you are on a quite good track. 6, maybe a little bit more, 6 to 9 months until it's on your bank account. We personally, I never raised money in the US, so I don't know how the time frame there is. We took the money that we had here from Germany and moved to the US. Maybe you can say...
As you said, the amount was way bigger and it was faster, and it's not that crazy due diligence. And yeah, as I said, I think they have 200, 300 millions, and for them it's pocket money. And in Germany or in Europe, I think they put it more together, and I think could be the reason as well.
But what many new founders underestimate, and that's something to really keep in mind, if you want to raise money, it takes 80% of your time minimum, you as a CEO. If you have good partners on board, maybe a little bit less, but it takes the biggest share of your time, and it takes a lot of time. So keep that in mind in all your cash flow and liquidation schedules, that do it early enough. Reach out to investors early enough, pitch your product early enough, go to the market with your product early enough. That is something where many run into this illiquidity gap, where suddenly no cash flow is available, and then you need to sell shares to a much cheaper price and give away too much.
I think money-wise, Berlin is a great moment right now because, as I said in the beginning, there are a lot of experienced founders who exited the company. So it's the already experienced generation, and they are founding their own funds together with other successful founders. I'm also involved in a fund founded by Ruben Dresselhaus, for example. And so there's money from proven entrepreneurs with a proven track record who also know the issues of a founder. And I think there's there for your early, when you start early, so that for your first money, there's a lot of them.
But it also always seems that they all like to support people from the network. So if they have started a company, so first what they do, they give money to their old colleagues, you know, because they know how they work, they know they can do it. So that's kind of what it seems like. You can disagree if you like. Do you think if you come outside of this network, if you haven't been to those universities, if you haven't lived in Berlin, haven't worked for Zalando or any other big companies, is it really that easy to get money, I don't know, from Cherry Ventures and Ruven, like you just mentioned?
Yeah, I think it's the same what I said. You have to make yourself seen. When I came to Berlin 11 years ago and started my first company, I didn't know anybody. So I started to build up my own network. So and that's also something which makes a good founder. So you work on it, you know, and then ask people, like, be aggressive, for example, and talk to people. Hey, I know you know this guy. Can you make me an introduction, or how do I get to know him? Just ask. Don't be afraid of asking. A no is the same as if you don't ask.
And are the people here open-minded? Because, I mean, you have been probably to the US, and many from the audience as well, they are more like, yeah, I introduce you guys. Is it open here, or are the people close, so they say, yeah, I do the intro, but then in the end they don't do it?
I think when every contact you talk to, it's a little mini pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, when I approach someone, hey, can you make me an intro because of this? You should give them the reason why. And always convince with your idea. Every point of connection, it's a selling point.
And again, how has Berlin changed over the last few years, in your point of view, since you have been in the scene for 7 years?
It's becoming more and more professional, right? I think there is more money, but there is also more talents, and the living cost is raising. The flat white costs $350 and stuff like that. That's more expensive than Japan and stuff like that. That means that you have to be more professional because you have less time to survive or to pitch or to get the money from the States or whatever. I think it's also, when we started 6 years ago, we were laughing about London. In London you got this amount of money and then you are done in 2 months. In Berlin, you have a half a year of surviving. And this is also becoming also in Berlin, that you have less time to survive, I think. And that means you have to be more professional,
yep,
more focused, and you have to fight more, definitely. And this is also good.
That's good.
Maybe one thing to add to the specific part, how to connect with people that can give you money. There are opportunities to found within company builders. There are opportunities to found within incubators. Yeah. So if you want to reduce somehow this risk we are talking about, not getting this network early enough, not having money on account to raise somehow your whole business. There are opportunities to go together with company builders which support you, which give you on the one hand side a network. I think that's the biggest value add, and at least the starting funding, which gives you time to explore and to find your own network.
But first you need the idea. I think that's the most important part, right? I think find the passion, find the right people, and build something what you believe in, because you have to work on that 5-6 years, right? It's not just, okay, in 2 months it's gone. I think find your right idea.
Maru, your startup is in the fashion scene, and since Munich and Düsseldorf also have a big fashion scene, have you ever thought about moving, or is Berlin the perfect place for your company?
Yeah, I think I love Berlin, so I never thought about moving. I love more to connect with cities outside Germany, like New York, or also Paris. But no, here I have everything here. I have the tech people who can help me build the site. I have the product people, the design people. It's all here. I have the marketing people. I have cooperation partners. For my company at this phase, it's really perfect.
And Stephan, for your fintech company, has Frankfurt ever been a choice, or
please.
London maybe?
Hope no one comes from Frankfurt here, but so Berlin even becomes right now an official fintech hub, which was confirmed by the government. So the government allocates hubs to certain cities in Germany, and Berlin became a fintech hub. So which is also very positive. There's a lot of marketing and a bit of money involved on that end. I believe no, for my company, I mean, at a certain point in time, we want to internationalize again. I think that is for some brands should be on the agenda. In Germany, I would always stay in Berlin and move the business from here. I believe that's the best hub.
And outside of Germany?
Outside of Germany, well, my experiences outside of Germany were then a little bit way over the ocean in the US and San Francisco, and a second subsidiary in Sao Paulo in Brazil. I would not recommend to make the first step to Sao Paulo. That's a very difficult part to found a company there. Many regulatories that keep you up from rising. Outside of Germany, I mean, maybe Spain, but that's more for the sunny passion then.
And again, have you ever thought about moving your whole team to New York or other cities?
No, I think Berlin is the best hub, right, for Europe, and New York was also interesting, but I think it's nuts to go to New York, and when you lived in Berlin, it's a paradise, right? I think that was also the question, because maybe even if you earn less, you have so much money left, right, to get the flat white and the awesome Prenzlauer Berg loft for really affordable money, right? And in New York, forget it. I think then you start from the bottom, and even if you get the 120 grand, it's nothing, right? An intern gets 120 grand in the States or at Apple and stuff like that. And Berlin, I think it's paradise. So please stay here.
So you already answered the major questions. Stephan, would you also say yes, it's a paradise, or are there any points that?
No, it's for founders. It's the right environment to do it. You have the infrastructure. You have right now the more professional environment here. You have a lot of talent. Investors, if you think about venture capital, 70% of all venture capital spent in Germany is spent in Berlin. So that makes it also quite attractive from these people. They have an eye on Berlin. A lot of East European people, really highly talented people, they are moving to Berlin. They are not moving to Düsseldorf the first instance. It doesn't come to their mind. They are moving to, but they are moving to Berlin, and that's a big value add. So I would not found anywhere else.
Maru, same for you?
Yes.
Like you just mentioned.
I just said everything before, so yes.
Okay. So are there any questions in the audience? Do you have any questions for Jen, the Eyeem founder, or Maru, or Stephan? Yes. Probably you get the microphone. There's a cube. It's coming.
Hi. Where is it? Here? No, here. Cool. Many startup founders try to secure government grants as their first source of cash, just to get some liquidity. Would you also try this, or who would you recommend doing this? Did you do this?
Maybe I can, because we are right now actually pitching even for one thing there. Yes, there are, for example, from the IBB and the KfW, there are some funds that are opened for very innovative projects. And there is this, it's called Profit. If you want to have more information, I can tell you afterwards. There's a Profit program that supports very innovative ideas from with, I wouldn't say even equity, because it's a gift. They give it as cash as a gift, up to 400,000 euros, and then they give a kind of loan up to 600,000 euros. So that's a very good opportunity to do, and there are many more programs from the KfW as well as the IBB here in Berlin, which are very open for innovative ideas. It takes a bit time to preparation, I can tell you, but there are also agencies on board that support that.
But you often need a matching fund for these. Like for EBB, you often need a matching fund. That's just, I think, also important to know.
For the profit program, no.
Not for the profit program, but that's a loan. But for equity, you need you need the first. They don't want to be the first investor to commit. They want to have a first mover investor, and then they.
But can be seed funder, right? It can be a seed funder, or it can be also.
It can be also a group of successful angels.
Office or family and friends, yeah. Yeah.
But it's important not to go for the easy money, right? I think this is super important because it's kind of a vetting, and you have to watch out because this door opens maybe not the another door. So sometimes it's closed if you got the IBB money and stuff like. It's on the close, but it's sometimes difficult. It depends on the product, blah 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 again. But there were some restrictions. I think this is super. You have to be based here and stuff like that, and it's depends on the product. So watch out.
Are there any more questions? Okay, first one here and then the second one there.
So I guess you're all fan of Berlin, and I am too. But what are your drawbacks on a daily basis? What's the negative things about being in Berlin? I guess we should have invited someone from Frankfurt on the panel, maybe.
I didn't understand. What
are the negative things of Berlin?
The disadvantages for you in your daily work life.
There's so much that is happening in Berlin, so you can easily be distracted, which is also a good point to get great people, but because they love the life in Berlin. I currently, like where I am and with my network, I don't see any real negative points. It's just, I mean, I hear a lot of founders who are somehow unhappy that they didn't make it here, but I mean, that's happening. You just restart and do something new, but that's what the founder's life is. So
I think it's quite widespread. So I don't know how much money I spend on Drive now to go from one place and have a client meeting there and a client meeting there, and then because you have a lot of potentials to meet clients in Berlin, so it's quite widespread. Yeah, I just drove from Mitte half an hour down here, which you in Frankfurt maybe you would have circulated 2 times already. But beside that, you mentioned the distraction.
Again, do you have
you need to like the lifestyle. That's one very important thing. There are people that come from Munich and might like more this classy style. Yeah, and Berlin is a more rush, more shabby. Yeah, from the outside it looks more shabby. More underground parties. If you are more into more classy things, then I think Munich is more attractive for these people. It depends a little bit on your own feeling, on your own behavior, what you like and dislike. Yeah.
And do you have any disadvantages that you can think of in your daily life?
Daily life, yeah, that you have to travel to New York and San Francisco, right? I think that takes time. But Berlin is great for the headquarters, but sometimes I have the feeling, okay, in the States, they are the big brands, they are the bigger startup companies and the bigger PR agencies and media conglomerates, and I think but Berlin is working on that, right? I think this is hopefully getting into this more bigger stuff, but yeah.
So we have another question really shortly before we end this panel, and we only let one person answer.
Hi. So to get funding, what would you think is the minimum you need? So either a minimal viable product or just an idea?
Idea.
I would go for an MVP. I think it's always good to present something, and what I recommend everyone is to go as soon as possible to the market. Build your product on the market, not only in your chamber with your ideas.
But if you don't actually have the revenue to build a sort of minimal viable product, how do you have to get funding somehow? It's like a chicken and egg situation.
Build a dummy, pick a click dummy or something like that. So that's
Right.
what we did when we started with like the configurer. We just made two to three screenshots, like slides, and then clicked through it. So it just.
I think family and friends help also a lot. If you have family and friends that can invest, I mean, every €1,000 is worth, because you can live from €1,000 here. Well, maybe you have, as I said, I know from many people that started with that their parents gave them a bit of money, then they saved a bit of money because they worked for 2-3 years. Then they moved together with, that's always the combination, yeah? When you found a company, you have maybe on the one hand side the market guy who moves out and gets the network, and on the other hand side the more tech guy that builds his MVP. So find
The right partners. Yeah.
the right partner.
The point is, don't over-engineer. Just that's what. Of course, MVP important, but people are, oh no, I have to iterate that and and you haven't shown any people. I think this is wrong. Just go out, show the idea, tell the idea, show the MVP, and then you get the money, right? And not, okay, it's a proven concept, it works, blah blah blah. Of course, you can bootstrap that and save the money, and then you get better money later on. But I think just push and don't wait. I think that's the point. That's what I want to say. Find the right the idea first.
Or do it, for example, when you want to convince the first investor, go to the other side, go to your customers and ask and collect. So would you use this? And then go to your investor and say, you know, I've already 1,000 people who want to use my product or buy my product. So be creative. Because when you don't have money, I love that phase, you are super creative.
Yeah.
So obviously the question is very interesting. So if you want to talk to these guys afterwards, because we have to end this panel now, you probably can do this. Probably you're around for a few more minutes, I hope. Thank you so much for being on stage here today, and I hope you had a lot of fun, and I hope it was interesting for you guys in the audience, and thank you so much for listening.
Cool. Thanks a lot.